Today we will be starting with module number 7 of Java, and this is the last module in Java. Fine. So in module number 7, we will be looking at various string functionalities. We'll be looking at XLS reader and all everything. Okay. So let's pick up the string functionalities first. Okay. For that, I have already created a project module 17, and inside this, I will create a new project. Okay, and I'll name that project as um, I'll create a new class, not a project, new class, and I will name my class as string functions. Now this is very important. Okay, how to handle strings with Java and what are the various functions which you can execute with strings. Okay, so I'll just take a sample example. Fine. Like I declare a string called string str equals to the range have started here, like this. Okay, so this is my string. Now what is string? String is an inbuilt class. Whenever I write string str equals to and I assign the value to that string, okay, so what happens is that an object of that string is made in the memory and str is the reference to that object. Okay, so now what you can do is you can write str dot and you will have access to lot of string functions in Java. See how many of them. You don't really have to learn by heart all of them, but you should have knowledge of some of them. For example, a string function like str dot char at. Okay, the function char at, it tells you that what is the character at a specified index. Okay, so or a string function like str dot length, this will tell you the length of the string. So if I write system.out.println str.length and run this code, it will print the length of the string, which is 27. Okay, so now after this, I can write, I'll just mention over here, length is this much. Fine. After this, you write system.out.println str dot char at 5. That means print the character at the 5th index. The 5th index of this string will be, the first index is the first character is at the 0th index. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will print A. So when you run this, this prints A. Fine. So char at function will tell you what's present at a particular index of the string. Okay, if I have to go the other way, if I write system.out.println str dot, I use the function index of, okay, index of a particular character. In single quotes, I have written the word, the letter S. I write the letter S. So this index of function will tell me the index of S in the string, that is the index for the first occurrence of S. If I run this, this will tell me 8. That is the first time when S occurs, it is at the index 8. Okay. What if I want to find the index of the second occurrence of S? In that case, you have to call the overloaded function str dot index of this one. Okay, this one. that is sorry, this one. Specify s as a string here. Okay. In this one you have to specify s as a string. In the above one you have to specify s as a character. And from index, that is from the index number 9. Tell me the first occurrence of s from the index number 9. So when you run this, it prints 15. That is second time when s occurs, it occurs at the index 15. So instead of right, fine, it's okay. So this is the first occurrence of s, fine, and this is the second occurrence of s, right? So this makes our work very easy at times. Okay. Now what if something is not present inside this? If I write system.out.println str dot index of the word hello. Now the hello word is not present inside the string str. If I run this, this will print -1. Okay. Now this thing is very helpful. If at times you want to find whether a particular character or letter is not present, whether it's present in a string or not, you can use the index of function. For example, you log into your inbox, fine. On the top it's written, welcome Mr. X, your last login was on this date. And you want to find whether your name is being written over there or not. Okay. You want to find whether on the top your correct name is being displayed or not. So you can read the whole text from the top. Welcome Mr. X. Using Selenium, you will be able to read the whole text. And in that text, you will find the index of your name. If that index is not -1, that means that your name is present over there, right? So index of function returns -1 when the string is not found in the search string, hello string is not found in the major string. Now index of function, if you move your mouse over it, if you move your mouse over any of the string functions, you will get a good description of it. See that this is the description. You can read this description and you can also understand what it does. Fine. Now similarly, there is a function called equals. This is very important. If you have to compare two strings, right? Suppose I have got this string and I have got another string called str1, which is equal to the range I have not started here. Okay. So I want to compare these two strings. So the function is if str1 dot equals str2. Sorry, str equals str1. Fine. So in this case, when I run the code, this will print false. That is, both strings are not equal. You can use this in if statements. If str1 is equal to str2, then do this, else do that. Fine. If I make both of them equal and run the code, this will print true. Fine. So, okay. Now, another important string function is substring. Okay. What if I want to cut a string? I want to pull out a part of the string. Okay, I will write system.out.println str dot substring. This one, the begin index and the end index. Begin index is 0. The end index is 10. So when I run this code, it will print the characters from the 0th index to the 9th index. It's always 1 minus the end index. If you look at the substring description says that returns a new string that is a substring of the string. substring begins at the specified begin index and extends to the character at end index -1. Okay, so when you run this, this prints the range, the first two letters of the string. Similarly, I can go from the 8th character to the 13th character. So I'll have to write 14 over here. Okay, when I run this, this will print a part of the string. Okay, now one of the most important and the last one which we are going to study, the string function. It is the function split. Okay, what if I have to break this whole string into words? That is, I want to pull out the words out of this string. I want to segregate range, segregate have, segregate started, segregate here. I want to pull everything apart. Fine. So I'll have to use the function known as split. So split will be used something like this: str dot split. You split the function. See, the return type of this is a string array. What the split function does is it will split it on the basis of blank space, and it will return me a string array. I'll name that array as, okay, so, and I'll write string array temp equals to str.split on the basis of blank space. Fine. So now you can write temp 0. If I write system.out.println temp 0, then temp 0 will hold the first letter, the first word. When you run this, this prints the. Temp 1 will hold the second letter, that is range. Temp 2 will hold the third letter, have. So you can actually write a for loop here to print all the elements of this array. I can write for int I equals to 0, semicolon I less than temp dot length I plus plus, right? And you write system.out.print. I'll put some stars over here to segregate it. And inside this for loop, now you don't need to give a bracket over here because I'm just going to write one line. If you're writing just one line, there's no need of giving a bracket in the for loop. Or if this applies to if statement as well. System.out.println temp I. Now if I run this, this will print all the letters of the array individually. The range have started here. Fine. So now if I split it on the basis of the letter have, what will happen? The first index of the array will have this part, the second index will have this part, and the stuff on which I split, it actually gets segregated, it actually gets detached from the result. Okay, so have will not be present in the result. When I run this code, see, it prints the range and started here. This is temp 0, this is temp 1. Now split is used a lot. You read the strings from the application, you split them, you break them, you extract stuff from them. Okay, so split is used a lot. Right? You should be very comfortable in split operations. Okay, so now what we will do is we will look at one more thing. Okay, that is how to convert stuff. How to convert data types. This is again important. Okay. Suppose I have a number called int I equals to 100. Okay, and I have a string called string x equals to in 100 like this. Now out here, this is a string and this is an int. If I write int I equals to x over here, I'll get an error. I'll have to convert this string into an integer. This is required at times in Selenium because whenever you read your text from the application, text in the form of number from the application, okay, the text is always read as a string. If the text is number, then it's always read as a string. So maybe this 100 is coming from the application, from a web-based application in Selenium, and it's being read as a string. Now you need to convert this string into an integer. So how do you convert? You write integer dot parseInt command and give x. Now what is integer dot parseInt? Integer is an inbuilt class which represents int. Int is a primitive data type, but integer is a inbuilt class, just like a string class which represents int. And inside it, I have a static function. Move your mouse over this function and you will see the description. Public static int. Fine. So this is a static function inside the integer class. That's why I'm able to refer it with the class name dot the function name. And you pass on the string representing a number inside this function, and this function will return you back an integer corresponding to that string. So this is how you convert a string to an integer. Okay. However, if there is an English number in this, like if I put in A and I run this, I will get an exception in my code. Number format exception for the input string 100A. So you have to make sure that integer.parseInt, you only pass on the numbers. So this is how you convert a string to an integer. If I have to do the vice versa, that is, I want to convert my I to string, then you use the value called, I'll write string z equals to string class dot value of function, and you write I over here. So this will convert the string, the integer I, back to string z. So z will hold a number 100, but that will be in a string format. Okay, so this is how you convert string to integer and integer to string. Fine. Similarly, it applies to all the classes, like integer, like string. There's another class called boolean. You can write boolean dot value of, and you can write in double quotes true. And you want to convert it into a boolean type, you can write boolean b equals to this. So this will convert the string true into the boolean value. Okay, just like I am out here, I am converting the integer to a string value. So basically you will be using this. This is the most important thing. Converting the string to an integer. You will use integer.parseInt a lot, and this can be asked in interviews as well. How do you convert a string to an integer in Java? Fine. Okay, then this is about string functions in Java. The next thing which we are gonna cover is reading and writing from text files. This is again an important topic in Java. Is how do you read and write your data from text files? Okay, so for that, okay, I made this file called creating, reading, writing text files. Okay, now this is known as file IO, that is file input output operations in Java. Okay, now this is a simple code of just few lines which will help you to read as well as write with the help of Java. So first of all, what I am going to do is I am going to create a temporary text file. How will I proceed with this example? Okay, in this example, first I am going to create a file using Java. After that, I will write something into it, and after that I will read it back. Fine. So let's look at the code for creating. Just first we look at the code for creating a file. Okay. So these are the two lines which help you to create a file. Very simple. There's an inbuilt class called file in Java. It's an inbuilt class. You create an object of that class. You pass on the path of your file in that object constructor. Now in Java, whenever we write path, we write double quotes. If you write a single quote, single slash, we always write a double slash. You don't write single slash in Java when you specify paths. So in my C drive testing folder, I'm going to make temp.txt. So in my C drive testing folder, I'll create a file over here called temp.txt, right? And first I create the object of that file which I'm going to create, and in the constructor I pass the path. Then I give command f.create new file. Now f is the file object. You will have lot of functions associated with it. Can read, can write, compare to another file, delete this file, get the absolute path, that is the total path, get the free space in this file, get the name of this file, lot of stuff. Okay, you don't have to really understand and really remember everything. Okay, just remember how to create it. F.create new file will create the file. If I run this code, it executes, and if I go look at my directory, here is the file which is created. If you open it, it will be blank. I'll delete it back, right? And now I will write some code which will actually write into this file. Okay, so wait a minute. I'm actually teaching from some other module. Uh, right. So now I will modify this code. I will introduce the code for writing. Okay. So this is the code for writing. This much. Now for writing, you use an object of the file writer class. Okay. You create an object of an inbuilt class called file writer, and you in the constructor you provide the path of the file which has to be written. Okay. Then you create an object of the inbuilt class buffered writer, and you pass on the object of file writer in its constructor. Now these are standard steps. Okay, you have to remember them only when you are going for an interview. I never remember them. I always refer to the code and copy paste. Fine. Create an object of the file writer class, then you create an object of the buffered writer class. Buffered writer class helps you to write into a file very fastly. Okay. Then you simply give the command out.write. Hello, we are writing in a file. Then you write out.new line. This will bring the cursor to the new line inside the file. Then you write out.write. This is a new line, and out.flush is very important. The flush command will flush the stream. Okay, this will flush the stream into the file. So if I run this code now, the file will contain two lines, this line and this line, because in between there is a command to put a new line. So after running, if I open my file, so these are the two lines present inside my file. Okay, so this is how we write into a file. It's very simple, very simple. Okay, create an object of file writer, create an object of buffered writer. That's it. Then out.write, out.new line, out.write, and in the end, after writing everything, you flush it. Okay. Now the last part is reading. Now I have written something in this file. I will read the same content. Similar to file writer, there is a file reader class. Create an object of that file reader class and provide the path of the file in the constructor. And similar to buffered writer, there is a buffered reader, and they both are analogous features. Okay, and in the constructor of buffered reader, you pass the object of your file reader, and simple. After that, Let me comment out these 3 lines. After that, you write system.out.println buffer.readLine, that is read one line. So buffer object, buffer reader will actually help you to read one line at a time. Okay. Suppose I modify my file, I will read the file temp1.txt here. Okay, and in temp1.txt, I write many lines like this: line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fine. So if I run the code here, buffer.readLine will bring one line at a time. If you run this, this will print the first 2 lines. If I uncomment the third system.out.println and run this, this will print all the 3 lines, the first 3 lines. So instead of this, what we can do is we can write a for loop or a while loop. The while loop is more sensible. In the while loop, what I have done is I have written first inside this bracket x equals to buffer.readLine. If the last line is encountered and after that I give the command buffer.readLine, that command is going to return me null. That is, nothing is present after the last line. So I've given the condition here that while x equals to buffer.readLine is not equal to null. That means till the point the condition on this side is not null. That means that I have not reached the end of file. Keep on printing the lines. If I run this code now, this will print all the lines from temp1.txt. See that? If I make it temp.txt and run the code, this will print all the lines from temp.txt. So this is how you create your txt files. You write into them and you read from them. When do you want to create, or when do you want to, basically in Selenium you will be reading from the text files. We will not be creating them and writing them. If the need is, we will just read from them. Suppose we have a test data which is very long. There is a text area on the page and we are writing something in that text area that is very long. For example, using Selenium, you are automating your mail website and you are sending a mail to somebody. So the body of mail is very long. The email body will be like 300 characters or 500 characters. Fine. Now, in order to put such a big content, you cannot hard code it in the code, right? You can put it in the text file, read it from the text file and put it into your text area, the application text area, right? Although this is required very rarely in Selenium, but you can be asked about this in an interview. Okay, so be prepared with this, how to create, write and read files. Very simple. Okay, for creating, you create the object of the file class, supply the path f.create new file. For writing, file writer and buffered writer are there. Simple out.write, out.newline, out.write. For reading, file reader and buffered reader are there. Simple buffer reader dot new read line. Buffered reader helps you to read line by line. Okay, so this is how you read your files. Okay, now we have completed how to read the text files. Okay, all right. So now the next topic is to read the properties file. Now what is property file? It is very important. This topic is very important. Okay, I'll show you a property file. I'll just make a property file. In frameworks, we'll be building lot of property files. Okay, I'll make a new package called config, which I will generally make in the framework as well. Inside this config package, I'll create a new file, new other. Inside this config, I will create a new other and I will select general file. Inside the config, I will make a new file and name that file as suppose employee dot properties. Fine. Inside this properties file, you can specify the properties of an employee. For example, name equals to Tom, age equals to 33, city equals to London, fine, and date of birth equals to 23 3 1981, fine, and his hobbies are football, basketball, computer games. Okay, so these are all the properties of an employee which I have listed down inside the dot properties class, dot properties file, dot properties file. Now reading this dot properties file is very easy with Java. It is very easy, and we use this properties file a lot in Selenium. For example, I'll show you how do we use it. We use it to store various stuff like I have this config folder in my framework as well, the hybrid framework, which is a mixture of keyword and data driven. I have a property file called as configuration.properties. This property file holds the name of my test site URL and the browser on which I am testing. So tomorrow if I change this to some other browser, IE, then what will happen is that the testing will happen automatically on IE. So I'll not have to change my Java code. It's it's something which prevents you from changing your code. Okay. For example, you look at this property file, or.properties. In this, I have kept some XPaths, all the XPaths of my application which I'm going to test. Look at the bigger one, then you can look at this one, or.properties from this project. Okay. So you look at this, I have kept the XPaths. Now what are XPaths? We'll do XPaths when we will study Selenium. Okay. Basically, I have kept the location of each and every link, like this is the location of my sign-in link in the page. This is the location of my username link in the page. These are the input boxes in my application. These are the check boxes. These are the buttons. Okay. So if anybody has studied QTP, this is similar to an object repository in QTP. Okay. So you keep everything at a single location with the help of properties file. Right. Fine. So this is very important. Reading a properties file. Now, how do you read a property file? That's another question. For example, I want to read my employee.properties. If you right click on this and you go to the properties, okay, this is the path of this employee.properties which I will copy. Right click and copy. Fine. And I will create a new class over here called reading properties file. Anybody, if you are not able to understand anything, feel free to ask me. Okay? You can unmute yourself, you can ask me, you can ping me on Skype. Okay. So reading properties file object. Okay. How do you create this? You create, this is the path of my file. How do you read the property file now? For reading a property file, properties, properties, S has to be present. Okay. For reading a properties file in Java, they have, whosoever made Java, he made an inbuilt class known as properties. Okay. You create the object of this class. Okay. And import this class. Fine. So this class object prop object reference will help us to read the properties class, the properties file in Java. Okay. So you write over here the next line, file input stream. This is again an input inbuilt class. You create an object of this. Is IP equals to new file input stream. Fine. And you have to supply the path of your file, the location of your file into the constructor of file input stream, like this. Okay. So you have to pass on the path of the file, your file employee.properties into the constructor of file input stream. Right? So input stream object IP is actually pointing towards the file which has to be read. Okay, and PROP is the object reference which can help you to read the file, get the contents out of it. So the last line which you have to write is PROP object dot load the file IP. Okay, IP is pointing towards that file. Okay, that's it. After that, you write system.out.println prop dot get property, any one of the properties. For example, the property name. Okay, get property name. You run this, it will print the name from the property file, that is Tom. Okay. After that, system.out.println prop.property hobbies. So this will print the property hobbies. If you run this code, so these are the hobbies getting printed. Okay. So what happens is that this way you can actually build a very loosely coupled system, a loosely coupled framework in which your test parameters, your test settings, okay, everything is controlled through property files. Okay. Suppose Tom changes his location. Okay, Tom changes his location tomorrow and he moves over to some other location. For example, he moves over to US. So you just have to change the city over here. So when you write property.get property city and run this, this will print US. So you don't have to actually change your code. Fine. And one more thing, this is case sensitive, like date of birth over here is in capital. If I mention date of birth like this, small, and run this, this will return null. Okay, it's case sensitive. So what we do is we keep everything in lowercase inside the property files. Okay, and if you have to delete a line inside property files, you just don't do it like this because you might need it in future. You put a hash in front of it. Hash will comment out that line from the properties file. Okay, so this is very simple. It's very simple to read the property file. Now one more thing is that I have hard coded the path over here. Now tomorrow if I copy this project and put it on your system, anybody's system, or I change the drive, I copy and I change the drive, then this is not going to work. Okay, so for that use another thing in Java. If I write system.out.println system.get property user.dir, this is a command. Okay, system.get property user.directory dir, and run this. This will give me the current project in which I am working. Okay, so this gives me the current project in which I am working. So if I write system.get property user.dir and I replace it with this path, this much, and I append the source folder to it like this. Okay, file input stream system.get property user directory. This will give me the current path at runtime. And to the current path, append the source folder. Inside the source folder, append the config folder, and inside the config folder, employees.properties is there. If I run this now, this is gonna work. Okay, and the beauty is that even if I move my project to some other machine, this will again work because the path is not dependent on the location of the file now. Okay, so you use this practically in French as well, because tomorrow if you are asked to deploy your framework on a server, you will go mad changing paths in your code. On the server the paths will be something else. Okay, so it's better that you use this. Very simple. Get the current project path and append everything to it. Okay, so remember, system.get property user.directory returns you the current directory in which the current project directory path. Okay, not the current file path, but the current project directory path. Right, so this is how you read the property files in Java. Okay, and right, fine. So we saw the string functionality. We saw how to read and write from the text files. We saw how to read properties file, which is very important. Okay, now we will see the concept of jar file. This is important again. Everything is important in this module. Now, what is a jar file? Suppose what happens is that I'll show it with the help of a diagram. You install Java on your machine. Okay. So this is the Java on your machine. Java has got many inbuilt classes. Okay, all the classes are there on your machine over here. So this is your Java, right? Now somebody came up tomorrow and he made Selenium. So this is Selenium. Now somebody again came up tomorrow and he made something else known in Java called as struts. Struts is helpful in developing web-based application or Hibernate. You must, if you have heard these words. Okay. Somebody else came up. He made an API for reading the Excel files. Okay. Now these are extensions for Java. That is, this is your core Java, right? This was developed, and on the top of it, people made lot of other stuff. Okay. And for releasing the stuff in the market, they use the concept of jar file. Okay. For example, I made a code which can help people read Excel files very easily with Java. Fine. And I want to release that code in the market so that anybody can download it and use it. But the problem is that while developing that code, I developed around 100 Java files. So what I do is, I put all the Java files inside one file known as the jar file, the jar utility. And I give the people the jar file so that they can download and attach it with the current project with their current project. Okay, so this gives me a very good advantage that I am able to associate many number of files with my project by just including one jar file. Okay, fine. And similarly, this stuff was done by Selenium guys also. When Selenium, what Selenium guys did, they released jar files like this. Like this. These two are Selenium jar files. They contain a lot of classes inside them. Similarly, library. Inside this, there are also a lot of Selenium jar files. When you install Java in your system, okay, This you see in Eclipse, you see this JRE system library, Java runtime environment library. It has got nothing, but it has got a lot of jar files. And each of these are the Java jar files. Okay, each of these jar files has got a lot of packages, and inside each package there are a lot of class files. Okay, you know class file, right? Every Java file is converted into a dot class file, which is a kind of exe, right? So similarly, somebody made an API in Java known as POI API, POI, okay, which helps us to read Excel files using Java. If I want to read Excel files, I can also make my code. I can start scratching my head and I can start building code which can help me read each and every data from the cells of an Excel file, right? But the thing is, when somebody else has already done the hard, he has released it in the market free of cost. Okay, why shouldn't we use it? And he has got all the support system available, right? Now, POI API was released by Apache. If you go to google.com and search for POI API, then POI API was released by Apache. You click on the, okay, this is the documentation. Go to Google search, and this is the link. Apache POI, the Java API for Microsoft Documents. Okay, I'll just copy the URL and ping you guys. I think so. I created a file called reading XLS files.java, and inside it, basically you can go at this location for the POI API, right? And so now you can download the jars from the POI API by going to the downloads page over here, and you can download the zip file, which is this one. After you download the zip file, basically you will have 5 jar files. Okay, 5 jar files will be these ones: XML beans, DOM4J, and these three. Okay, so these 5 jar files are actually from the POI API, and these 5 jar files have got n number of class files in them. Okay, which help you to read. Which all these class files, they help you to read Excel files very easily. Okay, they make your work very easy. Fine. So what I need to do is, after downloading these jar files, okay, I need to include these jar files into my project, okay, so that I can use existing classes from them to read from Excel files. So how do I do that? Listen to this very carefully, because you will be integrating Selenium into your project the same way. Okay, so I'm integrating the jar files of the POI API into my project. So for that, you have to right click on your project and go to the project properties, and go to the Java build path, the third from the top, this one, this option, and click on the libraries tab. There are various tabs over here: source, projects, libraries, order and export. You click on the libraries tab. This is the Java library, JRE library, which is associated with your project. This Java library has got a lot of jar files which come along when Java is installed on your system. Now I'm going to add some more jar files into my project which have been made by somebody else. Okay, Java has not provided me those jar files, and those jar files help me read Excel files. So I'll click on add external jars button over here and select the jar files. So the jar files are, these are the jar files: DOM4J, XML beans, and POI API, POI API, POI API. These are the 5 jar files. Okay, so you click on OK, and these jar files will be added into your project, right? So now, how do you work with these jar files, right? I'll take that tomorrow. Okay, let's not rush up with things. Right? So I had told you about how to download the POI API jar files. I gave you the link as well. Fine. After downloading the jar files, there are basically 5 jar files, right? And after downloading those five jar files, what you need to do exactly is you need to include them in your project, right? So I will make a project. Rather, I'll use the existing ones. And now, what I had done was, in the properties of my project, under the Java build path, under the libraries, I had added these 5 jar files, which help us to read from an Excel file. Okay. Now, how do I learn to read from an Excel file? Okay. Um, I had created a blank class called read XLS files. Okay. Now I've got a very good link. Uh, yeah, for learning POI API. It's a quick guide for learning the POI API. This is the link. I ping the link to everybody and also keep it inside Eclipse. Now, what does this link have? This link have just got various examples. That is how to create a new workbook, how to create a sheet. Now through Java code, you can create a new workbook, you can create a sheet inside an Excel file, you can create cells inside an Excel file, you can write into those cells, you can read from cells, you can set the background color and all of the cells, everything. Okay. Now the topics which are important from these all topics over here are reading and writing. If I click on reading and writing, then I'll get the code which I need to read and write from an Excel file. Okay, so basically you see that you create an object of the input stream, file input stream equals to new file input stream, and provide the path of your workbook. Okay, then you create the object of your workbook, then sheet. From the sheet you get the row from which you need to extract the data. Row is an inbuilt class, sheet is an inbuilt class, workbook is an inbuilt class in POI API. Okay, you create the object of workbook. From the workbook object, you get the sheet object. From the sheet object, you get the row object at the row number 2. From the row object, you get the cell object. And from the cell object, you can create a cell, you can set the value of a cell, and you can also get the value of a cell. So, so it's a science in itself, this API. It's very vast, very, very vast. So what I've done is I've made the work of um, Selenium, or I made your work very easy by making my own customized class out of all these things. What I did the hard work. Okay, I actually went over to this API, studied it over 1 week, fine, and I saw various features in this API. Then I made a Java file for myself and put methods in those Java files which will be helping me in Selenium. So instead of learning this API directly, if you want to learn it, you can. It will help you in an interview. Okay. But if you want to use my Java file, you can also use it. My Java file which I have created is this one, xlsreader.java. I have created this file. I'll copy this and paste it into my current project. This is the file, right? Now this file is a very big one. I've kept a lot of stuff inside it. I have done a lot of coding inside it. Okay, I studied this POI API for 1 week, and after that I made this file. Now what this file does, if you create an object of this file, you see the constructor of the file XLS reader. It takes in the path of the file which you want to read. Okay, if you write over here controls, if you write in Eclipse, there's a shortcut. If I want to see all the methods in a file, you press Control O. Pressing Control O will bring up a window like this, and I'll be able to see all the variables, global variables, and functions inside this file. So I have created a file like this with methods like get row count. Okay, in this method you pass the name of the sheet and it will tell you the total number of rows in that sheet. I made a method called get cell data. You pass in the sheet name, the column name, and the row number. It will get this data out of that cell. Okay, so after this you can, like this is the overloaded function get cell data. Instead of passing the column name, you can also pass the column number. Okay, so I've made a lot of functions like these. Functions such as get cell data, set cell data for setting the cell of a data, add sheet, you pass in the sheet name and it will add the sheet inside this file, remove sheet, add a column inside a sheet, remove a column. If sheet exists, this function will tell you whether the sheet is existing or not. Get column count, this will tell you total number of columns. Add hyperlink, this function add hyperlink which I have made will actually add a hyperlink inside a sheet. Okay, so let's see how this thing works. Okay, in my C drive, I will create a new inside the folder, say test1. Okay, now this is the QTP test. Inside the folder temp, I'll create a new XLS file and name this XLS file as say data.xlsx. Inside this Excel file, I'll make the first row, I will make it as a column. Okay, the column will be name, city, okay, and age. These are the three columns in my Excel files. So I am taking the first row as the column. Okay, name Ashish, city Chandikar, right? Age 27. Okay. Name Sam, place London, age 22, right? And I will keep on putting data like this. Yeah, actually yes. I started working very early. Right. So name will be say Tony, and Tony lives in US and his age is 35. Right. So I want to read this data from the Excel file. Okay, that is I want to read the name or the city or the age from an Excel file. Right. So how do I do that? Using my POI API and the class which I have made over here. Which class? XLS reader. Fine. We use this file. First of all, you need to create an object of this file in your reading Excel files.java. So I'll create an object. I'll write XLS underscore reader. As this file is in the same package, you can access it. XLS reader object, I will name the object as data table, the way we have in QTP, equals to new XLS reader. And in the constructor of XLS reader, if you look at the constructor of the XLS reader, you supply the path of your file. Okay, so you write over here XLS reader data table equals to new XLS reader, and you supply the path like C drive. It's in the temp folder. In Java, you need to give // right? C drive temp, and inside the temp folder, you have a file called data.xlsx. I want to read this. So what will happen is that this data table object will point towards this data.xls which I want to read. And with this data table object, I have got lot of non-static methods available, like get cell data, okay, and get column count, get row count. Okay, fine, let's test this. Get the row count from the sheet. I will name my sheet as say record. Right, data table dot get row count from the sheet record. Now when you are reading a file with the help of this XLS reader, it's not mandatory to close your Excel file. Even it's open, then also it can read. Okay, so Gilbert is asking something. All right, so get row count from the record, and this function get row count is actually returning me an integer, that is the total number of rows. So I'll write over here int r equals to this, and in the next line I will write system.out.println r. Right, when you run this code, this gives me an error stating that the system cannot find. Okay, there's a spelling mistake in the part. It's TMP, not TEMP. File not found exception. I just got that exception. So you run this again, and this prints that there are 4 rows in the sheet, and that's correct. There are 4 rows. The only difference is the first row is my column name. The first row I'm assuming as my column name. So now if I want to get the data out of the cell, right? Wait a minute. So if I want to get the data out of the cell, then how do I do it? I'll have to use another function associated with the data table object, that is data table dot get cell data from the sheet record from the column name. Okay, so the column name from the record, I need the column name as city. Column name is city, so I will give the column name as city, and from the row number 2, I want to get the row number 2 data. So when I run this, I put whatever this get cell data is returning, it is returning me a string. Okay, so I write over here string data equals to this, and you write system.out.println data. So when you run your program, this prints the record column, the city column from the row number 2. That is, this is the row number 2, and this is the city column value, Chandigarh. Right? So this is how it works. Now if you again write data equals to data table dot get cell data from the record sheet from the column say name from the row number 3, and you run this, you print the value of data, it will print the value of the row number 3 name, that is Sam. Right? Sam is at row number 3. So I have made this file so that your work with Selenium becomes very easy. Okay? You don't have to go into the depth of POI API and create the object of workbook and then create the object of sheet, then create the object of cell and get the data out of the cell. Okay, you just have to create the object of this file and get the cell data, get the row count. If I want to know how many columns are present in this row, so you can use this function, data table dot get column count. In the sheet record, you have to mention the sheet name. Okay, so you run this. There are 3 columns, and that's correct. I have got 3 columns in this Excel file. Fine. So now, if I have to write into this Excel file, okay, then the command is data table dot set cell data. Inside the sheet record, the column name will be name. Inside the name column, on the row number 10, and the data will be, okay, I'll write Selenium. So in order to write it, you have to make sure that the file is closed. I'll close the file and run the code. And now if I go and open the file, on the row number 10, I will have Selenium written over here. Right? So these are some of the utility functions which I have made and you will be using a lot in Selenium. Okay? One is the get row count, one is get cell data, one is get column count, one is set cell data. At times you'll also have to set some data with the help of code. For example, you want your test results to be reported inside an Excel file. You want to write pass or fail, and if it's failing, you want to write the failure reason inside the Excel file. Then you'll have to use the set cell data function. Okay. Now, or at times I have been asked the question that what if I want to read from more than one Excel file? Okay. So you can simply create one more object of this XLS reader. Data table object is pointing towards data.xls. You create another object, data table 1, that will point to some other object, to some other Excel file, data underscore x.xlsx. So you can create as many objects of the data table of the XLS reader pointing to different Excel files, and you can handle multiple Excel files with the XLS reader as well. Right? Now the only thing is that the code which I have made in XLS reader.java, this code, it is only supporting Microsoft Office 2007. Okay, that is, it is only supporting XLS X versions. It is not supporting XLS. This file cannot be read. XLS files cannot be read. Only XLS X versions of files can be read. I am currently, I'm not getting time to build this one for XLS, but I know how to build it, so I'll be building it soon and releasing it. Fine. So XLS reader object you can create, and you can read the Excel files which are of the format 2007 Microsoft Word. Okay. So now let's look at this. Okay, so we have done how to read and write from the Excel files. We use the POI API for that, and the POI API presents very rich interface. And if you have to read in depth about POI API, you can go to this link. They have presented an example on each and every of these topics. I have read this I have read some of the topics and I have understood it from them. Okay, so now about the last topic in this module, the log4j API. Okay, this is quite important. Like for example, I tell you to run a script. Okay, I develop a script in Selenium which executes 25 test cases. Okay, and when the script ends, okay, it produces some results, and in the results you come to know that the test case number 12 is failing. So you want to know what actually happened in that test case, whether the browser got opened, if it got opened, then whether I was able to log in, what actually happened step by step inside the test case. So you need to log somewhere that what actually happened. Okay, log in the sense, I'll just show you an existing log, that is f drive um, inside that. You want to generate logs like this. Okay, it's blank. Sorry. 1 minute. I'll just find that out. Right. So logs like this, Selenium log file. That what happened at each and every moment. That at this time the server started and web driver remote server had started at this point of time. So this is a big log file which contains each and every information of what happened when the script was running. Okay, this will look very confusing and untidy as of now, but with time you get used to it, and you have to get used to it, right? And you actually figure out things. Basically, it's got a timestamp which helps you to determine what's happening. Okay, so let's see how to build this log file. Right? Instead of writing system.out.println and printing in console, we can actually print inside a log file. Okay? So this will be very helpful because we can actually keep a track of what happened when the test case was running. There are two ways to work with Selenium WebDriver. Okay, rather there are three ways to work with Selenium. The one is with IDE, which I have seen that many people they just execute their test cases in IDE. It is never recommended to just use the Selenium IDE to execute your test case. Even the Selenium guys, they have written in the documentation that IDE is not meant for executing your tests. There are a lot of drawbacks of IDE, right? So for that, they have the version like they have the WebDriver. Now using WebDriver, you can either build plain scripts, okay? Plain scripts in the sense that um, inside like ID you should never use. Okay. Now while using WebDriver, some people they just make plain scripts. They never parameterize the scripts. Okay. So they will the people while working with WebDriver they never use the logging, they never use the Excel file, they never use the parameterization concept. They simply write their test cases. Okay. Some people also hard code their test data. Fine. So that's another wrong way of implementing. Okay. What's the right way? The right way is to actually build a framework. Now, if you have just got 4 or 5 test cases, then there's no need of making a framework. But if you're working on a big application, then you need to make a framework. And for making the framework, you should need all these concepts. You need to handle the Excel files, to handle the log4j API. Then you need to know about the reflections API, the collections API. Otherwise, if you don't want to make a framework, then I think you should just have knowledge till the module number 5. You should not have the knowledge after that. Okay. But yes, if you have to make a framework, use some regular expressions and all, everything, then you need to have good knowledge, right? So, so basically, I'm teaching you for that. Okay? So these all topics are related to framework, reading the Excel files, building a log for incorporating log4j into your application. Fine. So let's see how do we incorporate the log4j into the application. It's again very simple. all the hard work has been done by somebody else, and he has provided us a jar file called log4j.jar. Okay. All you need to do is you need to go to your project properties and click on add external jars and select the log4j jar and incorporate into your project. Okay, and click on OK. Fine. So this is how you have now you have configured the log4j into your system. Okay. Now what does log4j.jar, this jar over here, what does it contain? It contains lot of packages. It contains lot of packages, and inside each package there are a lot of class files. Okay. So you don't really have to worry what these class files are doing. Okay. The only requirement which log4j tells you is that you should have a file called log4j.properties into your source folder. Okay, a file like this. Uh, a file like this. Inside your source folder, you should have a file called log4j.properties. Now that the log4j API is going to read this file. Okay, and what does this file contain? This file contains the information about the file which you need to create. Okay, this property over here, log4j.appender.destfile, you need to provide the path of your file in which you want to create the logs. I'll say that it's in C drive temp folder and name my log file as test.log. Okay, the property over here, conversion pattern, it tells you whenever you write something, whenever you log, in which format will the log come? The date, month here will come. After that, the time will come, hour, minute, and second. That when was this statement written in the log file? Okay. When I in the end show you the log file after generating it, you will come to know. Now this is the max file size property, which tells you that what will be the maximum file size of your log file. 5000 KB. If it exceeds this, then you need to then a new log file will be generated automatically with some other. It will be appended with 1 or 2 or any other number. A new log file is generated. You can give it any size. Okay. Append equals to false property. This is important. This means that whenever a log file is generated, okay, and you run the code again. Suppose I run the script once, a log file is generated at this location. Now if I again run the script, append equal to false means that delete the current log file, make it again, and start writing logs into it. So the old log file will be lost. Right? So this is what you specify in your log4j.properties file. Right? So now let's make a new file called as test logs4j having the main method. Okay. Now if you look at the log4j.properties, I have explained you everything, that this is your file. Whenever you use this, just change the path and keep all the properties same. You don't have to change all the properties, just change the path. That's it. This is the conversion pattern, this is the appending part, this is the max file size. And the name of my logger is dev pinoy logger. This is an inbuilt logger, dev pinoy logger. You just have to accept it. Fine. So now I'll have to write this line. Inside my test log4j, you just create an object like this. Logger is a class present in log4j, you import it, and logger class has got a static method inside it, get logger dot get logger dev pinoy logger. So this will give you the object which will be pointing towards the dev pinoy logger. Application logs will be the object which will be pointing towards the dev pinoy logger, and all you need to do is you need to write application logs dot debug. Instead of system.out.println, you write application logs.debug, um, starting. Okay. After that, you write application logs.debug executing, and after that, you write application logs.debug ending. So this will simply give the output inside the log file. That is log4. That is my log file test.log. Test.log will be created inside my C drive temp folder. Test.log is not present out here right now. But when I run this program, log4j.java, when I run this, so this will create this test.log. When I open this log file, you see that this is the time format, that on this date, on this time, def binary logger wrote starting, then executing, then ending. Fine. So this is very simple. There are three steps. Okay. What are the three steps? Step number one is put the jar file in your project. Step number two is put the log4j dot properties file with right path and correct the path inside it. That's it. Third object is create the object of logger class. That is this line. And simply you can write logger.debug, logger.debug, logger.debug. That's it. Okay. So this ends up our module number 7 and this ends up our Java. Right.